The Chesapeake Bay isn't just a body of water. It's an engine. It's a lifeline, a cultural icon. But there's a quiet war being waged just beneath its surface. And honestly, the fate of the entire ecosystem hangs on three key players. Today, we're going to dive into an ecosystem that's really on the brink. And our story really starts right here, with this net full of Atlantic menhaden. People call them the most important fish in the sea, but they're also at the very heart of a bitter conflict that is threatening the future of the Chesapeake Bay. So, how did we get here? Well, first, we'll meet the Bay's Keystone trio and really see why they're so crucial. Then, we'll get into the alarming signs of an ecosystem in crisis, untangle the complex web of threats they're all facing, and explore the fight to restore some balance before it's just too late. At the heart of this entire story are these three species: menhaden, oysters, and blue crabs. And look, they aren't just residents of the Chesapeake. In a lot of ways, they are the architects and the engineers of this whole ecosystem. To really understand what's at stake here, you have to see them not just as animals, but as the vital organs of the bay itself. They're its fuel, its filter system, and its very heartbeat. Okay, first up, the menhaden. These small, oily fish are literally the engine of the bay's food web. They filter feed on the tiniest plankton, and then, in turn, they become this super-rich food source for pretty much everything else, from striped bass to the ospreys you see circling overhead. And then you have the oysters, which act like the bay's living filters. It's incredible. A single adult oyster can clean over 50 gallons of water every single day. Their reefs also provide critical habitat, creating these underwater cities for countless other species. And finally, the blue crab. It's the cultural and economic icon of the bay, right? As a keystone species, it's both a voracious predator and essential prey, playing this central role in the food web. Oh, and it's also the backbone of the bay's most valuable commercial fishery. So you've got the fuel, the filter, and the icon. Each one is absolutely vital, and each one is in deep, deep trouble. The data isn't just whispering a warning anymore, it's screaming one. Let's start with the oysters. Right now, the bay's oyster population is less than 1% of its historic levels. Just let that sink in for a minute. Less than 1%. It now takes them almost a full year to filter the same amount of water they once cleaned in just a few days. And the iconic blue crab? It's also in real peril. The latest survey counted just 238 million crabs in the entire bay. That is dangerously close to an all-time low. This isn't some historical problem. This is a 5-alarm fire happening right now. Now, for menhaden, while the official coastwide assessment is complicated, the warning signs inside the bay itself are just undeniable. The number of juvenile fish has been chronically low for 2 decades. Local fishermen can't find them for bait, and the scarcity just cascades upwards. Ospreys are starving, and the prized striped bass that support another major fishery have less and less to eat. So, what's causing this system-wide decline? The tough answer is that there's no single villain here. It's a tangled web of overlapping threats, kind of like a death by 1,000 cuts. It's really a cascade of problems. From above, you have intense harvest pressure. From the land, you get pollution creating these suffocating dead zones. Within the water itself, critical habitats are disappearing. Diseases like the oyster-killing parasites dermo and MSX are running rampant, and now invasive predators are changing the very rules of survival. Just take the invasive blue catfish. They were introduced for sport fishing, but their population has absolutely exploded. They are, as one expert put it, voracious predators, and the damage is just staggering. One study found they ate 2.3 million blue crabs in a single river section in just 1 year. This crisis forces a confrontation, a fight for balance. And it's a conflict that plays out in meeting rooms and on the water, involving scientists, fishery managers, conservation groups, and of course, the people whose livelihoods depend entirely on the bay. Okay, this slide right here gets to the absolute heart of the menhaden controversy. For years, managers relied on an assessment that said the population was healthy and even allowed for more fishing. But a brand new scientific model tells a completely different story. The population is much smaller than we thought, and to be sustainable, the catch needs to be cut in half. You've got 2 sets of science leading to 2 totally opposite realities. So how are these resources even managed? Well, for menhaden, there's a specific cap on the industrial harvest inside the bay. Blue crab management hinges on that annual winter survey, with rules really designed to protect the crucial female population. And for oysters, the focus has shifted to these large-scale restoration projects, creating protected sanctuaries where reefs can grow without any harvest pressure. And this chart, wow, it shows just how precarious the situation for blue crabs really is. The number of spawning females is teetering on the absolute edge of collapse. They are at the bare minimum threshold for survival and just miles away from a healthy population. There is literally zero room for error. And this brings us to the core tension of the whole thing. The fight for the bay's future isn't just about fish or crabs. It's about people, communities, and economies colliding with the needs of a very fragile ecosystem. This quote from crabber Luke Menhaden just captures the dilemma perfectly. He makes the point that, hey, no one wants healthy populations more than the people who depend on them. But the economic reality is brutal. Bills have to get paid, you have to go to work, even when the numbers are this grim. That same pressure exists in the Menhaden fishery. For fishermen like George Ball, this is not some abstract debate. It's his job, one of the best paying jobs in his area. And the prospect of drastic cuts and having to start over is, in his words, treacherous. The conflict has gotten so bad, it's even paralyzed the science. A critical, agreed-upon study to finally figure out Menhaden's true role in the bay has been blocked, left completely unfunded. And it leaves everyone, from fishermen to policymakers, basically flying blind. So, what is the path forward? Well, experts seem to agree on 4 critical actions. Follow the latest science, aggressively restore habitats, stop pollution at its source, and finally, fund the research to fill in the blanks. Look, we are at a crossroads. The bay's engine, its filter, and its heartbeat are all failing. With livelihoods on the line and an entire ecosystem in the balance, the question isn't just what we should do, it's whether we have the will to do it before it's too late.